Welcome to the Delta Center, where Utah Jazz fans pay good money for everything that comes with today's NBA experience. A much different experience from that first season at the Salt Palace back in 1979.
We all sat around the table and said, what are we going to do to make this an exciting night? Because people aren't really going to come to see the Jazz. The Jazz weren't good.
Grant Harrison, whose first job was selling season tickets for the Utah Stars, joined the Jazz that first year. For several years, he and the team's small staff had the tough task of getting fans in the seats.
I think there were like 11 people in the front office, and then we had the players and we had the coaching staff, and that was it. And so it was a really small group of people, and we had to do everything.
That's because at that time, the Jazz had serious budget issues.
We had some very, very, very tight times, and it got to the point where we didn't know whether we were going to open up the doors the next year or not. But we hung on because we had people like Frank Layden who came on board.
One time I answered the phones. I was the only one there. I was the only one that had a phone. I was sitting in the back office, and all of a sudden, the phone would ring and pick it up and say, "Excuse me, what time could the games start?" "Oh, what time can you get here? We're going to accommodate you."
Such were the days of a struggling franchise when some promotional nights had tickets as low as $1.50. So to boost revenue, Grant became an innovator. He had the idea to put advertising on the focal point in the arena, the scorer's table. What started as a wooden sign has evolved into a huge electronic moneymaker.
We had many tie nights, different ties.
Did you ever wear any?
No, they're very ugly ties.
Promotional giveaways were always the norm, like hats, bobbleheads, even posters of the other team.
Get back in there, come on.
And sometimes Coach Layden became Plan B.
And we were lucky by having a coach that was an entertainment guru in Frank Layden. People would come to see Frank, even. I mean, he was a draw. He knew he had to be a showman. And let me tell you, he is and was a showman.
Oh my, what is this?
He helped us an awfully lot, whether it was posing with players for posters, whether it was doing skits with the referees. Like I said, it was a show. It was a game too, but it was a show.
A show the staff could improve thanks to the team's purchase by Larry and Gail Miller in 1986. A show that included one of Frank's most memorable skits with Morgana the Kissing Bandit.
Morgana made me famous. That was the play of the day, was me passing out after she kissed me.
We were one of the very first teams to do the $1 million halftime shot. We didn't give it away. We came close a few times.
Then came the blimp.
The blimp became an absolute focal point of our games. There wasn't a minute of the game that was dead.
He was an innovator. He wasn't afraid. He was a born salesman, and he did sell things. And the Jazz were hard to sell.
I was very lucky to have somebody like a Frank Layden who was on my side. He'd try anything.
He wasn't afraid to take chances, and he wasn't afraid to say, "We tried that and it didn't work."
Like the firework fiasco in 1984.
The scariest thing that we did was when we made the playoffs the first year.
On opening night, we want to have fireworks. We want to have something big and grandioso.
Grant decided that we were going to set off fireworks, okay?
And we had a long talk, and he said, "I think we can do it if we put it in a big metal cage."
Fire marshals gave us the okay and said it was okay for us to do it. Well, as our friends from Lantis were leaving, Grant grabs them and says, "Throw a few more fireworks in."
We put a little bit too much more.
Started to announce the players, and they set off the fireworks, and that little extra caught on fire, okay?
They burned so hot, it burned the metal cage, it didn't hold it. It burned through the metal.
We had this firework bonfire. They had to lower it down, bring the fire extinguishers out.
Oh boy, big trouble.
And you kept your job.
I'm surprised I worked the next day, but I did.
You learn that you got to have gimmicks besides, because people aren't going to come bring the kids and everything else unless they have things that happened in the game, they're guaranteed to bring them back.
So the team brought in the jazz band. Then came the jazz dancers and the dunk team. But what really brought fans back was the new mascot.
They had a couple options. There was this Utah Jazz blob, which was just this big character. There was the Jazzmanian Devil, like the Tasmanian Devil, and then the Black Panther. But they didn't want to do or have any real correlation with the New Orleans Jazz back in the day. So that's when we went with the bear, because it's native to the mountains. I think the best part was, and I loved getting to the games early and feeling the build-up, but I think the best part was just the family atmosphere and the fun that we had.
He became as popular as the John and the Carl in that era. It was literally Carl, John, the bear, and he became an icon.
I think the biggest part of that was, the fact that Grant, who was in charge of all that, allowed all of us to just be ourselves, and he supported us in so many ways that we felt really comfortable doing our jobs.
When it was a bad game, and there's many bad games, we all know that, he could go up in the crowd, he'd silly string the people, make them happy. Kids loved him. It was just our major form of entertainment. You put all the rest of it together, and you ended up with a pretty good show.
A show that starts off with the national anthem. For 30 years, Grant listened to thousands of tryouts. One of the most memorable and emotional performances came from the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square after 9/11. Whether it's the national anthem or halftime weddings, there are so many people behind the scenes, not just trying to win games, but hoping to bring back fans who pay big money each and every game night, even if the team, like 1979, isn't very good.
It's more than just about basketball, it's about entertainment.
For Beyond the Game, I'm Kathy Aiken, KSL.com.